Hello, I am a British person. And not only am I a British person, but I'm a British person with fancy shoes. And today, I'm going to be reviewing the Fuji X-S10. If I were just a normal person with fancy shoes, or if I were just a normal British person, I could see how you would not believe that I know about cameras. But since I am a British person with fancy shoes, I don't see how you could not take my word for it on this review. You see this background here? It's called bokeh. And right now we're filming on the Fuji X-S10. We're using the 50 to 230 millimeter lens. And I am testing out the face tracking. Is it tracking my face? Is it even doing anything? I don't know. Let's see. It's really far away. Oh, alright there, yes, I can see. It is tracking my eyes. So yes, it does have eye detect on this camera. And yes, the background is blurry. That's called bokeh. It's a fancy thing that we British people like to use in our videos to make us look like we're better than everyone else. So this camera is an amazing tool for videographers and photographers indeed. It has a 26 megapixel X-Trans BSI CMOS sensor, which is the same sensor that is in the X-T3 and the X-T4. Why would anybody buy the X-T4 with a cheaper version, almost half the price, that's smaller and has all the same features? I don't know, some people are loony. But one thing that this camera does not have is weather sealing. That is something that the X-T4 does have. That is very important here in Britain because it rains every day. This camera has 5-axis in-body image stabilization, also known as IBIS. It's just scaled down from the X-T4, but it still works very well. This camera has on-sensor phase detection. This camera has a 3-inch 1.4 million dot fully articulating touchscreen. This is very important for vloggers. It is one of the best cameras under $1,000 or around the $1,000 for a vlogger in 2021. This camera also has a 2.36 million dot OLED electronic viewfinder. This viewfinder is nothing really to talk about. It's not really that great, but you could get a viewfinder designed for the X-T30, a little extension, and stick it on there, and it would definitely help it be more comfortable to the eye and block out a lot of light. This camera has 30 frames per second burst shooting with a crop, a slight crop, and up to 20 frames per second without that crop. I have used the crop before and it is really annoying and I don't like it at all. I don't know why anyone would want to shoot 30 frames per second burst. That's a lot of photos per second. The only time you need to use this if you were doing sports or wildlife, but I don't do a lot of that sort of thing. I've noticed this is not the best camera for wildlife photography because I tried to take photos of a hawk flying into a glass window and I tried to take some photos of a deer jumping 15 feet in the air and I missed both of those shots. That of course could have very well been user error on my part. This camera has DCI and UHD 4K capture up to 30 frames per second with F-Log. I usually film in 1080 because I don't like to mess with the 4K F-Log files. They're much bigger and harder for my computer to digest. This camera has external mic and headphone sockets. You have to use this USB converter thing for the headphones, but it still works very well and it is very usable. This camera has 325 shots per charge using LCD screen. Well, that is not the best, but still, these batteries are very small. Carry a few of them in your pocket and you'll be fine. It's another reason you'd buy the X-T4 over this camera because the battery is much larger and works better. But this camera does use USB power delivery support, so you could just carry a little power bank in your pocket, plug it into the camera, and keep it charged. This camera has a single UHS-1 card slot, which is not the best if you are a wedding photographer or an event photographer. That is why, if you're using this professionally, you would probably rather go with the X-T4. This camera has good Wi-Fi and Bluetooth capabilities, but I don't really care. What I do with this camera is I take photos either raw or with the film simulations, and then I upload them straight to Instagram. And if you're doing that, you don't really need to do a lot of editing because the files are beautiful. The JPEGs right out of the camera have beautiful colors, and that is why I bought this camera. The color science and the video capabilities are definitely worth the purchase price, and I believe this camera is a very good deal for vloggers, YouTubers, and photographers. After using the video and photo features on this camera, I believe a professional videographer or professional photographer could use this camera alongside their other more professional cameras, or even in and of itself if they really needed to in a pinch. It creates beautiful colors, and that is probably the most important thing about a camera. I really enjoy using the 120 frames per second and the 240 frames per second in full HD. Fuji lenses are one of the best things about the Fuji system. The kit lens, the 18 to 55, is beautiful. It goes down to f2.8, which is splendid for that beautiful bokeh. There are a myriad of different great portrait lenses because this is a widely used system for portrait photographers. It's not the best for wildlife, but there are some good zoom lenses as well. So I really hope you guys enjoy this video. If you like this kind of content, reviews, tutorials, and videos about what I'm learning as I grow as a photographer, hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.